Hello everyone, welcome back. Hopefully tonight's stream goes well. I got a little frustrated this weekend and promptly formatted my computer. It may seem aggressive, but I keep all of my data stuff on a secondary hard drive, so wiping it is mostly just around stuff that reinstall programs, config settings. WinGit plays a big role in standing it back up, so I think I got most of it. But I'm finding some gaps in my my scripts that reinstall things. Like, for example, my fancy little keypad that normally would change my scenes on OBS and be all pretty. Yeah, something's not right. So that's no bueno. So I have to do the old manual clicky thing. So hopefully that goes well. I think I got all my stuff set up. I mean, the stream started and I've got all my metrics that look fine. So we're going to see how it goes. Couple quick updates. Let's see. Have you ever used chocolatey.org? Yes. Yeah, so Chocolatey existed before WinGit did, and for a long time it was the package manager on Windows. It was the only option. Sup, Andrew? Welcome. So yeah, definitely like Chocolatey. I still use it quite a bit. The only thing I kind of favor for WinGit is WinGit kind of is more like command line control panel rather than package manager. It does package management stuff, but it also, if you've installed stuff outside of WinGit, it's already there. You can manage it, which is kind of convenient. It also does a lot of Windows settings that Chocolatey is more focused on just doing package management stuff. But because of Chocolatey's longevity, it also has a lot more available in it. So, okay, let's see if I can remember how to do this. GitCon is next week. And more importantly, if we scroll down just a little ways, me. Isn't that wonderful? Speaking of WinGit and things that I haven't installed yet, Visual Studio, wait your turn. WinGit install, or WinGit, here, we can do this. We can just do this here. So here's what you do when you forget to install Zoomit. You go WinGit, search, Zoomit, and then you promptly WinGit install, and you make sure you're installing the right package. So I generally always do a search and then an install. So I did install it. Apparently I just didn't configure it. Oh, I didn't accept the EULA on it. See, this is the little thing. It's the little things that I'm forgetting. Ah, yes. Okay. Gotta switch to green. There we go. Okay. Gotta change my default zoom level. More importantly, me. So day one next week. If you are interested in learning all kinds of fun stuff with GitKraken, tips, tricks, that kind of thing, it's gonna be a good session. It's gonna be great. These sessions are pre-recorded, and I think the intent is for GitKraken to put recordings up on YouTube sometime after the fact. At least last year, a lot of the sessions made it up. But if you sign up, they also have cool stuff and prizes and that kind of thing. So it'll be good. It's online. I think it's going to be really excited. Actually, day one is just filled with stuff that looks kind of cool to me. So there's going to be a lot of good ones. So I'm hoping to be able to catch quite a few of them myself. So if you haven't signed up, go ahead and do so. Let me check here. Sorry, I've got a colleague that may be feeding me content. It's wonderful. Ooh. Sorry. Normally I have this stuff prepped ahead of time. Okay, other things. So the material design and XAML stuff, we have API key, so we are publishing again. Huzzah! So you'll note nightly release is actually rolling out again, which is perfect. Couple PRs I wanted to go through and take a look at. I kind of appreciated this one here, which was kind of cool. This one actually came in from somebody who had reached out on an issue. If I recall correctly, she's a French university student who's working as an intern and looking for some contributions. And then this one was a global converter rename. And I think this one is pretty close. I just got pinged on it down here. And I think I think the ping was just getting me to go back and look at it. This was the one I had started looking at last time. That was 108 files, and I went, "Holy vey!" So that's always exciting. But this is why you use the little check boxes, right? Like these boxes here. When you're reviewing PRs, check these boxes. These are important because then when you come back to it, you'll note I only have this many things to look at. This is much more tolerable. Let's see. And I think this was really just following back up. Let's see. Because the issue that I had before when we were looking at this was instance and then inverse instance, but inverse wasn't the opposite of the first one, which immediately gave me pause and made me go, something feels wrong about that, right? I think the running joke is there's only two things that are hard in computer science, cache invalidation, naming things, and off by one errors. This would be the second one. Let's see here. So let's see. I based on inverse Boolean divisibility converter that was previously defined as a static resource. Value, not the visibility. I'm kind of used to it. The converters personally have, for instance, hidden, invert, collapse, class, which we want to collapsings. Let's see. I like that. Naming better. I'm fine. Okay, so I'm gonna slap that in, and I just want to check and see, was there any other follow-up? This one was a thumbs up, but it doesn't look like it's been changed yet, so we're going to leave that unticked. And then this here, and then we're just going to, I think, submit review and be done. Okay, cool. Yeah, so we'll just submit that. I should have followed up when I saw the comment on there. Also, Robert, looking forward to seeing you tomorrow. I will warn you, I am actually teaching at the university tomorrow afternoon. So I think from like noon or 1 o'clock on, I'm actually gone until we've got a work event tomorrow evening. So I'll definitely see you there, but I won't actually be around the office most of Thursday. I will be there in the morning, though. Will be there in the morning, where I will continue my fight with building Apple products and making them work properly. Let's see here. So this is related to the issue here. Let me just double check. Okay, display version in demo app. Oh, interesting. Okay, so she sniped that one. Because what was her name? Sabrina? Mia Sabrina. I'm probably butchering the name. Because I think on the issue she said that she was going to a French university. So I'm assuming she's French. I am making that assumption. Okay, so let's see here. So generate the version file. Okay, so this is actually quite instructive. This is a way to go through and do this, and I'm actually, this is a clever solution of being able to put this through. There's actually something even more clever that we can do with MSBuild and these versions. So I'll show that here in a minute, because this, doing it from, and I probably should have left, I didn't realize she was going to pick up this issue, but there's a clever trick with MSBuild environment variables. Okay, so that's fine there. That's just cleaning up some white space, so we don't care. Let's see, button content version. I guess this fits with the rest of the buttons above. Yeah, we'll look at this. It may be worth making this not a button, because this thing here is inside of a pop-up box. But none of these other buttons actually do anything themselves, right? So it's like, yeah, it's a button that doesn't do anything, but neither did the 3 buttons above it. So stylistically, it'll fit in, but we'll look. We'll look. Let's see. Having something app specific on a page which showcases is, let's see. So which one is this? Oh, this is just duplicating that same thing here. Yeah, this one we'll look at. I don't know if it matters that much. Okay, and then here we've got version text. And so this is actually setting up the text block. It's using an X name, but I don't remember if there is a view model behind this or not. I know most of these things are using click handlers, so it gives me a bit of pause, but I do see bindings there. So there is a binding context in here that could work. So we'll take a look at that. Load version right inside the constructor. That's probably fine. And then this here is pulling from the file that was generated, which is perfectly fine. I appreciate the fallback to not have a version file path, which is convenient here, right? Like that would be nice. The thing that's maybe not immediately apparent to a lot of people is the versioning that we pass through for, because the intent here is to display the NuGet package version inside the demo app. The thing is, we kind of have to cheat because the demo app isn't using the NuGet package, right? Like, so that's kind of the dirty trick. Like, on one hand, we could try to switch it, but part of the purpose of the demo app is for rapid iteration. And so you kind of get yourself into this weird situation where you want to prove out the NuGet package and then handling exceptions. This is probably perfectly fine. Though the only thing that gives me pause here is the exception message is potentially quite long and is going to blow up the whole situation. And this is a demo app. So it's like, we don't want the demo app crashing, so I'd rather suppress it, but I'd even just drop air reading version file would probably be sufficient. Yeah, and this is the same comment here about data binding it rather than loading it in the code behind. I think we'll be able to kind of showcase this a little bit. Let's see, and then yarn lock file. We aren't using yarn anymore, so we're going to leave a comment here. We'll leave that there for a second because that shouldn't be a big issue. This is just white space cleanup, so I don't care because that's fine either way. Okay, so let's take a look at this because this is probably a good instructive thing to show of when you have something. So here's the thing to note, right? So we have a pipeline, GitHub Actions. There are these inputs here that are being passed in. So these things come in from the top level, right? And if we open up, let me grab my beloved Git Kraken. Let's see here. Feet show versions. What is, this is not the same one. So let me find here. This is what I want to do. Add. Oh, I didn't hit checkout, did I? Well, we'll just double click. There we go. Okay. And then here, if I do, and up we go. Up we go. Okay, so here is the flow here, right? So build artifacts, takes in these inputs. If we look at something like nightly release, right? And we scroll down, we can see that we call build artifacts, referencing the file. And then it is pulling in the versions from this get version step, which is just above here, right? And you'll note this comes from getversions.yaml. Getversions.yaml is a very, very complicated setup that literally just has some hard-coded version numbers. That's it. Like, in retrospect, this is overkill. And the only reason I'm doing this is for some for some kind of wacky handling of this, right? To be able to put in the is full release, do a CI. Like, I wanted to do some fancy stuff, and I wanted to control it differently. There are kind of cleaner ways of going about doing this. This is if you do it manually by hand the whole way. Yeah, there's shortcuts. So, but this got me to the end result that I wanted, which was single place where I rev the versions, call it a day. Right? So these get passed in. Now the question though comes, we want to be able to display these two versions. Actually, we should look at build artifacts, right? These two versions inside of the demo app. Now, if we scroll down to where we actually do the compilation, you'll note we're doing a .NET build on our solution. So the solution has all the projects, and we're passing these things through here as environment variables. All right, so if we look at MDIX version, because the question now is, how does that make it in? Because somehow this is being used somewhere to do something, right? So if we look at this, and no, class view dumb, go away. Let's see, if we go MDIX version, right? We should find a hit inside of, not there. This is what I'm looking for. This is the dirty secret. So you'll note here, I've got this inside of a CS proj. Again, this is potentially more complicated than it needs to be. So environment variables can propagate into your MSBuild stuff as properties. This is a nice trick to be aware of. And you'll note here we're checking the if the version is empty or it's undefined, which undefined is kind of unlikely. This was an old school MSBuild thing. Nowadays you can kind of just check empty and call it a day. Then it sets the version to 101, just because at the point of doing this, this was a reasonable fallback, just so that we had a version number to be set, right? And then it's doing a regex replace. If the version comes in with -CI, we're going to strip off the CI build bit, because for this version, all we really want is we just want the version number by itself. Okay? The next thing, you'll note this variable, right? This guy here then gets set as the version and the assembly version of this project. Okay? So the key thing here is this is brought in, and these attributes are special. As part of the build process, if we go and look, because this is Material Design Themes project. If we go looking here, and actually I think we can just pop this guy open containing folder. All right, so if I scroll up and I go into my OBJ directory, right, and I can't remember, is it here or is it down a level? It's down a level. Debug. Let's pick on net 8. Doesn't really matter. Okay, so inside of my OBJ directory, which is just our object directory, think of this as temp space for the compilation when it's happening. There are things that are part of the SDK, the .NET SDK, that will look at these particular properties. So things like version and assembly version, they're only special because the SDK says they are special, right? So there are steps in the SDK that look for these properties, and you'll note here we've got this assembly attributes, and lo and behold, we get our target framework assembly. That is not the one I thought it was. Where is the one that contains the version in it? Is it this one? One of these guys has the attribute in it. There we go. There's what we're looking for. So there's your assembly version, and there's your assembly file version. So those properties that we set inside of our CS proj here, the SDK looks for these properties, and it's going to automatically write out this assembly info one. On old projects, you will find inside of your properties directory something like this assembly infos, right? This is something, especially people who have the old CS project file format, the ones that, and you'll know you have the old one because it doesn't have project SDK at the top, right? And more importantly, it's probably like 300 lines long, not 37. But the SDK will then generate up these assembly level attributes, and then those assembly level attributes are readable by anything that wants to go through and pull the attribute out at runtime. So that's the magical trick, right? So once you've gotten it from your pipeline to an environment variable, to MSBuild, to something that's going to write out an attribute, once you have it writing out the attribute, you can then read the attribute with reflection. So I think down in, what is it? Assembly dot, we're going to be using one of the assembly methods. Whoop, whoop, that is undocked. It's not what we wanted. That's not quite the same spot. Well, whatever, close enough. Let's see, swatch provider, get type. Where is the one of these? Oh, I thought we were reading the version already. Because quite often what you'll do is something like get executing assembly or get entry assembly, depending on which way you want to go through and do this. But then you can do something like get custom attribute and pull that assembly attribute back out and read its data, right? Bippity boppity booyah. That's the incantation, right? So if we were to go through and do something along those lines, and part of doing this is because I know this is a university student who is looking to learn, so we're going to make this a learning opportunity. Where is my... Why did you dock like that? I want to collapse you, and you are in the wrong place. So I want you there. Give me your find window, and I want you in here. There we go. Sorry, I had to fix my Visual Studio setup after reformatting my computer. And more importantly, Solution Explorer immediately gets moved to the left. That's where it belongs, darn it. It belongs on the left. It just makes sense over there. I don't like the right. Okay, rant over. Okay, so if we wanted to go through and pass these guys in, one of the first things, like we could write our own attribute, but I'm kind of thinking that there's got to be something in here we can already abuse. Runtime, let's see. How about system reflection dot assembly, because some of these allow for multiple. Assembly metadata. Yeah, I'm kind of thinking something like this, right? So if we do something like, this is probably not where I want to put this. I want to just test this really quick. So if we go here, right? So that other one is the generated file. You don't want to do it there. Let's do something like mdix version, right? And if I do 1.2.3, I think we can get away with that, right? And then more importantly, mdix colors version 4, 5, 6, right? So there's that. Bippity boppity booyah. And then if we go up to the demo, I think it was main window where that was being pulled from. Down here, yeah. So rather than this stuff, right? And the other thing that's kind of missing here is it's only grabbing the one version, not both. So we'll do something like assembly, hit, stop. Thank you. Let's see. Let's do get assembly, and then what's a good quintessential type to reference down here? Like, what is, when you do an assembly based on a type, you kind of want to pick a type that you're real confident isn't ever leaving this thing. I don't know if it really matters. Maybe theme is as good as anything. Because this basically says, go find me the assembly that contains this type, right? Get custom attributes. Dang nabbit. Freaking Copilot. Yes, Copilot. Var attributes gets. All right, so we're going to do something like that. And I can't remember. Is this enumerable? It is. So we're going to just to-list this sucker. because we're going to end up iterating it twice. And I am just going to null suppress this, because if we don't find that type, I'm okay with us crashing. What are you unhappy about? Oh, you're unhappy about this. Got it. Yeah. So let's go var mdix version, get something like this. And I think what I would do is I only ever expect there to be one of these. So we're going to do singular default. And then we're just gonna do, I think, question mark dot value there, and then we can do something like this, right? Colors version. All right, so this goes like this goes like this, and let's just verify this works. It should work, but you know. Before I go off and tell somebody how to do something, I should actually, you know, make sure the code that I'm going to propose works. This is one of those situations where I've done this a number of times, but I don't know if I've ever done it in a public repo. So, and if I have, I can't remember where it is. Okay, see, these windows are now not grouped where I want them. Okay, so let's see here. So we get attributes. Do we have two attributes? Huzzah, we've got two attributes. MDX version, MDX colors version, bing, da, bing, bing, bing. Right, so we have version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oh, great. Okay, so that's how we get that. Okay, next we want to generate those magical attributes. So if we come in here, because this guy's already got some of the versioning stuff already in place. Why are these things separated? Package reference, project reference. Okay. Just check. One second. Okay, so let's go here, and then there is a magical incantation. Let's see, MSBuild, right? Assembly attribute. There is a built-in task. Yeah, set assembly attributes in project files. They're setting arbitrary attributes. This is the guy. This is what we want right here. So for anybody who wants to play along at home or use it with your own stuff, I usually tell people when I'm teaching C# stuff, you don't need to remember all the things. You need to remember what things exist, and then the proper incantation to Google them, so that you can find them when you need them. So rather than system reflection assembly metadata attribute, actually that is the right one. Right, and then we want the two ones, so this will be MDIX version, and this will become MDIX version. Right, and then the question comes, this is stripping it down and pulling this out. I think we probably want the raw one rather than this, and then we'll fix that in a minute. MDIX colors version, and then this will be MDIX colors version. How did you insert your MVP? Do that first. Great question. So there is a extension you can grab. Where is it? Million Champions extension. Is this it? Why is that not look right? Is this guy here? Yeah, it's this guy here. So there is there's this guy here. Technically anyone can do it. If you go to Microsoft Learn, to be able to grab your ID, anyone can link this. I actually have a colleague that runs this extension despite not being an MVP. It does basically two things for me. One, it strips off the language bit of the URL on Microsoft URLs, That way, people who click on it will get the web page in whatever Microsoft sees as the correct language to match their locale, and then it tacks my MVP ID on the end of it, so that I get credit for sharing Microsoft stuff. I don't know how much it actually counts, but there's no way I would be putting those things on. So oftentimes I just use it as a quick and easy way to get that link. Izzy, welcome. So we are taking a look at this PR here for displaying versions in a pop-up on the demo app. I'm not fully going to fix it, but the person who opened it, I believe, is a university student looking to learn. So we're putting together some informational learning, and it's a lot of knowing how to pass the versions from GitHub Actions into MSBuild into assembly attribute, read them out inside of your code. I think those are the key 4 steps to go through and do. So the only thing I think I would potentially change here is I think we're going to do this, is we're going to rename this guy from, because the problem with MSBuild is properties, you kind of wish them into existence. They're just key value pairs. And the fundamental issue is that we want to make sure that we actually, well, hang on, maybe I should look this here, because this is fine here. This is just giving the thing a default if it doesn't already exist. What is your problem here? Project file could not be loaded, something. Okay, so I've messed up a curly somewhere. But this one here is regexing it, and I think this is the thing, is before this was then reassigning the MDIX version property just so that it could be used here and here. We're going to change it so that it doesn't reassign the property. That way we can reuse it down here. We're going to get rid of these comments. These are not helpful. And clear that, clear that. That's going to save me hours per year, thanks. No problem, Andrew. There's a number of those kind of things that I wish would be a little smoother going. But yeah, I tend to automate myself out of a job as much as possible. Andrew, you got your Microsoft MVP, didn't you? Are you going to be at Summit next year, 2025? Because the sign up for it just came out this week. Oh, got it. I was gonna say, if you ever come to Summit, let me know. I think I owe you a drink. Okay. Okay, so there's that. I think this all just works, because we should be able to see 101 make it through our code now. And we should be able to come in here. I want to remove these attributes because I expect them to be auto-generated for me now. This guy here, I think I just left him in a broken state, so we're going to unload, reload him. When you muck with the MSBuild stuff, sometimes it loses its mind because it tries to load on every save, and it's just, the yen is not helping these years. Got it. No, totally understood. Totally understood. I have the advantage of living so close to Redmond. Like, I feel bad because I meet MVPs that talk about, you know, hey, we traveled so many hours. It took us 3 days to get here. And I'm like, I drove 4.5 hours. It's not that far for me. So I'm one of the small number of MVPs that's very close to Redmond. Close. Like, I'm on the other side of the state, but I'm still within, you know, handful of hours away to be able to get there. So I try to go over as much as possible. That's also part of why I end up showing up at some of the conferences when they host them over in Seattle, because it's close for me. I didn't go to Ignite this year simply because it was going to be a lot further and a lot more expensive for me to travel, and well, Microsoft wasn't comping anything, so was a little less motivated. Okay, so let's run this guy, and we should see, what I expect to get here is the colors version to be blank, and the MDIX version to be the 101. spitting distances compared to me. Yeah, exactly, Izzy. Exactly. Like that's... I'm very aware that I've got a substantial advantage. So, huzzah! So that got us the 101. That got us empty and bippity boppity booyah. But on an actual build where these things were specified, we could actually see them go through if we want to prove that to ourselves. All right, so if I back this sucker up, material design and XAML toolkit, let's see, env mdix version gets 1.2.3, right? Oh, that's not how you specify $, right? And then env mdix, is it colors version? I think is what it was. 4, 5, 6. Right, so both of those, I just want to confirm that those match what the pipeline's going to set. Build artifact, MDX colors version, good. And so if we do .NET run the project, oh, let's see, where am I? Yeah, so I want to go there. CD main demo. .NET build. The run would probably pick up the change. There's a handful of times like this, if you just run, where it'll miss the change, because MSBuild watches for input or the last modified date of input files to know when it needs to rebuild. And that does not always work when you do with MSBuild stuff. Usually it picks it up, not always. But the key thing here is I just ran a .NET build from a prompt that has a an environment variable set, the same as what the pipeline would. So now if I .NET run, oh, I just realized, hang on, that's not actually going to do much. It won't do much because I built it, but I did not. I'm not outputting these things anywhere. So let's prove it to ourselves by just checking the assembly directly, I guess. We can prove it that way. If we go here and back all the way out to source, main demo, bin, debug, we'll pick on net 8. And then this is the assembly attribute is going to live in the DLL for the project that we built. So it's important to note that we were building the main demo here. So if we dnspy, oh, if we winget search dnspy and just grab that little guy real quick, winget install. Oh, should we do ilspy? No, not right now. Not right now. dnspy is slowly dying because it got archived and the author disappeared, which is very sad to me. I was hearing tale of it being brought back to life. I hope so. I like it. It's my favorite. ilspy looks... is it ilspy? Might be ilspy. There's another one that's actually getting a lot of love and being updated a lot more often. So we'll see. We'll see. The one thing dnspy gives you, it has built-in debugger and all kinds of stuff that aren't real common. The other popular one that everyone goes to is the JetBrains.peek, which is a perfectly good one. It's one of the free ones from JetBrains, so no objection to that. Command A, launch. Yeah, see, you say it's there, but then it's not there. See? There. You got to relaunch the terminal. Hello? dnspy, where are you? Are you launching or are you just dying? There we go. I think first run, it took itself a minute to warm up. Okay, so we'll just validate it from ourselves by making sure that we see our assembly attribute in here, which we should. Let's see here. Not the information I was expecting. I was expecting to see it actually show up. I don't see any of them in here, actually, which gives me a bit of pause. Because normally you would pick them up right here. But I also don't see... Did we add those to a different... Oh, see, I'm an idiot. This is the problem. I'm an idiot. See. I put this in the wrong place. This is why we test. Right? If you put it on the library project, it will not show up on the demo app project. So that's a problem. And that also means we can kind of undo that other change that we did here. Let's see, that one we want to keep. This we want to throw away. So we're basically gonna cloud patch this here in just a second and send it off, because I think that will make for a much easier learning experience for people. Okay, so now if I come back, I am realizing that I killed my env. So let's see, env mdix version 123. Let's see, colors version 4, 5, 6. Right, .NET build. We'll let it target the solution the same as what the pipeline would do. I realized last time I went into the demo app one, but we'll make sure we see this guy update because it's 9:40 there. We should see a 9:45, give or take a little bit, given my current system clock. The other nice thing about dnspy, it doesn't lock assemblies. It loads the file and then lets go of the handle, which is how it should work. Okay. Ooh, I still don't see it. What did you put in the CS project? Great question, Izzy. Great question. I think this is roughly the point where you showed up a second ago. So it's this guy here. This is the magical trick when you want to write out custom attributes. I am surprised to not see it show up, though. Okay, so let me go back here and just double check, make sure I didn't screw anything up. Net 8. We do see it updating. I'm going to back up here and just check the OBJ and make sure I see that reference make it out. Let's see here. Let's see, assembly info. I think it's this one. That's one of them. So it did write. Oh, it did write that out. The dnspy looks like it may just not be showing them if they have empty values. The bigger issue here is there's empty values. Now the question is, what did I botch? Because this really should have dumped out both MDIX colors version, MDIX versions. Do I need to do that? Is that my problem? Has my crude grasp of PowerShell finally hosed me? Because that is very much a possibility. I do love that Visual Studio is similar as locking this file, but then it gets through. Just make sure it's not anything horrible. Yeah, it's the colors DLL that was locked. Yeah, so it was my crude grasp of PowerShell that hosed me. that makes more sense. And then if we go, what is it? Where's the reload? Reload all assemblies. There we go. Now we have assembly metadata with versions. Yay! It works. Okay. Okay. It works. Great. Okay, so now what we want to do is the last thing I was going to leave for the student was a sample of switching this over to an MVVM pattern, which I think was the last question. So main window view model appears to be our data context, which is great. Let's see, I think that's in domain. Let's see, main window view model. And then we have, yeah, shut up. Why is it grayed out here? Generate demo items add. Why does it think? I'm confused, Copilot. Oh, it wants to simplify the collection initialization. Okay, that's kind of clever. So for people who haven't seen this before, it's figured out that demo items is what's being added to. And there's already syntactic sugar for being able to recursively call the add method on an item with collection initializer, which is what you see being done here on the inside of observable collection, right? Like even this is not needed, right? Like this could very easily be, oh, I wish it wouldn't do it all, right? This could just be array. So we can just use new C# syntax. But what it's figuring out is we can use the, I think it's called the splat operator, the ... which is really horrible for IntelliSense, to effectively inline this to append it into here and build all that, which is fine, right? We're not doing any of that garbage. That is not part of this change, not dated. Oh, thank you, Unalpha. We may actually be looking at Avalonia here in just a second. Got a colleague who's crazy enough to let me have some code of his. But I wanted to do one thing in here and show. I wanted to leave a small thing here. I've actually been doing quite a bit of Avalonia in my day job, and it is, I am very much loving it. About NuGet version, right? And then we could do something like public string NuGet versions. Let's see here. That'll work. We don't care about the empty string case. Thanks, Copilot, but that's not needed. And then what we could do here is move the code from the main window code bind. Actually, to do this should occur in the main window view model, and then over here, because I don't want to do too much, because part of it is kind of showing to do set this property with the string for the versions. And then over on the XAML, I want to leave a to-do there for applying it. I think that's the kicker. Where's the XAML for it? Am I passing it? So main windows.xaml 191. 191. To do bind the text of this text block to the NuGet versions property of the main window view model. Frickin' Copilot, you are a bloody show-off. Okay, Let's see here. There. Maybe we should leave a comment on that CS proj. So in the long way of doing things and then changing to the shortcuts helps understand things a lot. Oh, thank you, on Alpha. I've been meaning to go back through. I feel like every year or two I should probably make an update version of it, just because some of the libraries and things advance throughout the years, and like there's nothing wrong in any of those videos because it walks through understanding how the magic works. And honestly, the libraries make it easier to do things but harder for people to understand who are new to it. And so kind of walking people forward through, it's just that with some updates and some of the new source generators, it's like, oh, well, we can eliminate some more code and make things a little simpler. Let's see here. This passes the environment variable values into assembly attributes that can be read in code. There. I think that one little comment goes a long way, and that I think that will help make a little more sense. Okay. So we're going to take that view model. I'm going to put myself on the left so my big fat head isn't covering things up. Left it to do there. Left that there. Left that there. And then we are going to cloud patch this. Anyone with the link? Okay, so we're going to go through and do... Oh, actually. Can I... Hang on. I can just do code suggest. Oh. Review code and suggest changes. Yes, this is what we want. I want to go view code and suggest changes. There we go. Let's see. So just 4 file changes to PR. Let's see here. Well, that's not quite getting me where I want. Hang on. So I don't actually need to... Sorry. I don't use this feature enough, and I want to understand it better. So I literally can just come in here and click here to go to code suggest. Oh, that's so much easier than what I was doing. Okay. So down here, just click the tab. Don't be like me. Do the smart thing. Because the tabs, and this is actually kind of, I've contemplated building out a sample of this style of interface. Right, so this is kind of cool. Is that? Oh, and it even has the little question mark. This might be a fun thing to build out in like Avalonia or WPF at some point, showing people how to do a tab control like this. Very clever. Let's see. I added some suggestions as a cloud patch. You know, if you have any trouble viewing it, key changes here. You can access the environment variables to get the versions. You can set up a string property in the view model and find that in the demo rather the code behind. It is worth noting the demo app is not designed to show best practice, and some people get really unnerved by that. But the demo app's purpose is to show the breadth of what's possible. And part of it is some people like MVVM, some people don't. So the demo app tries to show both. You should not do both in your app. Don't do that. Like it's trying to show you the breadth of possibilities. You should pick what's best and do that. and go from there. But if you do a mismatch of all the things, it gets kind of ugly. So just people, I always have to remind people, yeah, the demo app's not going to show bad things, but it's going to show a breadth of things, and you probably don't want all the things. It's kind of like if you're cooking dinner in the kitchen, try not to dirty every single utensil, right? Only get out the pots and pans that you need and just use those, right? Don't like, pour things through every single, measuring cup just to do so. Like, that's a waste. Don't do that. Doing everything the demo app does is kind of like that. I have some code showing how to do this. There are several to-do items I left in the cloud patch. If you have any questions on them, or if you want to see my review of this, I did it live on Twitch. Now, if I'm really smart, I'll just grab the link to this and send it. That assumes I know how to link to my own videos. Right. This is not as easy as one might think. Let's see. Watch. Let's see. It is at the beginning of this stream. Bring. Bring. And now, hopefully, let's see, copy code suggestion link, just in case. Let's view on GitHub, because it should have left a nice comment for me with all the things. It works. I love it when things work. Okay, Victor. You're up. You're up. Let me see here. So, stand by, folks, one moment while I deal with this really quick. Click this button, and then we'll see how this goes. So, one moment. Hold on, Victor. Your audio's not on. I was doing so well. Okay, go ahead. Your audio should be on now. Anything?
Okay, you hear me?
Yay! Victor! Yay!
Sweet.
Okay, so for those people who haven't met Victor, Victor is one of my illustrious colleagues. Brilliant WPF and XAML dev that I have already addicted to Avalonia. It was a horribly difficult endeavor. Okay, so I'm going to grab this link. And for anybody who wants to play along at home, oh, Andrew says hello as well, by the way. I don't know if you're watching stream. I know you're sitting in there. For anybody watching the chat, he's also one of the VIPs on the stream because, you know, he's usually lurking in the background and correcting my mistakes, though he won't admit
Nice.
it. Okay, so what is this repo and what is the thing we've got? I'm going to just clone it real quick and you can kind of catch me up.
Okay, so the context of this is I wanted to dabble with Avalonia. I don't have any apps to do so. I'm not very good at coming up with my own, I don't know, app. I got to come up with a bunch of stuff. Somebody has this little sprite animation tool that they had made in WinForms and then again in WPF, and it's complete trash. And he asked, and he was saying, I want a like new, better version. And I was like, well, it just so happens I like need some content to learn Avalonia with. So I just fired this up a few days ago. I was starting to flesh out a skeleton of it. You'll see there's not much there.
There's no solution file, Victor.
Are you joking me?
Did you forget? Did you either forget to create it or did you forget to add it?
I don't know. Here, I sent it to you in Teams there.
Oh, that'll work.
Yes. So just have a skeleton of it, and the idea is you can basically draw out these frames over an image to define your sprite frames that would end up in an animation. And so I was using an items control with a canvas panel and trying to do, you know, with MVVM using data templates for the items in there. Right now, really the only thing is like a frame. So there's not much to it, but I was trying to come up with a behavior. How can we drag around in the canvas and attach that to these items that are templated, and they are presented with a content presenter. And that's what the canvas is seeing as the first visual child and using the canvas properties on that to move it around. So I've got this like layer of trying to bind the X and Y coordinates with the left and top properties, the canvas. So I can't bind them on the actual item because it needs to be on the content presenter. And there's this weird, I just don't really know what to do. So I came to you for some architecture help, and hopefully you can find something.
I've got plenty of ideas. I had issue with your solution file, so I dumped all the projects. I'll let this guy restore here, and then I'm going to, step one, make sure I can compile and launch. I'm just going to grab the desktop head for now. So for people unfamiliar with this is Avalonia. I like to think of Avalonia as if WPF got a V2, this would be how I would want it to be. I also have an issue with the fact that you hard-coded your path to an image file that clearly doesn't exist on my system. You're killing me, Victor. You're killing me.
Yeah.
Why did you use a triple quote here? Oh, because you didn't like this?
Yeah, I was just
that works.
Getting it in there.
I've never seen somebody use the triple quote for a single line string before.
Yeah, I was just getting it in there.
Okay, is this image needed to be anything special, or can I literally just feed it anything I want?
Yeah, you can feed it whatever. Yeah, it don't matter. I just used it because
I heard fuchsia was cool today.
Yeah, the background is all green in the app. So anything but green. Will,
Anything but green.
yeah.
Why is this thing not
I
there?
don't think size will really matter. I've only been doing this with like a relatively, I don't know, like 200 by 150 size.
No, I'll leave it up if I need to change it.
Yeah.
And then I am just going to add this in because reasons to make my life mildly easier. Actually, I can just grab this, I guess. Because unlike you, mine is going to be called victor.png. Because, you know, reasons. Okay, let's try this again, this time with feeling. For those people who are interested, Avalonia is it uses Skia for its rendering. And so you get a common look and feel across all the platforms rather than native, which is what you get with like Uno or Maui. So if you don't like the common look and feel approach, Avalonia may not be the right solution for you because you are going to get it. The big advantage is it's freaking fast. And it just works in nearly all cases. Okay, so walk me through.
Okay, so here's the dilemma. Go ahead and hover over one of those squares and drag it around. So I've got it working.
Okay.
Each of those squares are one of those frame nodes on the left in that tree. So I've got it working. I just don't like how it's working. It feels gross.
This feels kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie. So, okay, now I have to go look at what you've done, because this now looks cool.
There is crumbs of like half a dozen different ways of me doing this scattered throughout. I don't think it'll be too bad to read through.
So let's
this
see.
Right off the bat, I'll tell you that I tried and inherit derived from items control, and it was you need to give it a control template or it just dies.
Dies. Interesting. Now, so hang on. There was something. I got bit by this recently. Avalonia repeater. Because there is a repeater one that they had that they deprecated in favor of this was deprecated in favor of, I think, items control. This is what you're referring to?
Yes, I've inherited from that.
Okay.
In an attempt to like do some more hacky stuff. Ideally, I wouldn't, for the sake of this, be doing
Built-in
inheriting from it.
Yeah. Because items repeater, they broke off into a separate NuGet package and then just stopped updating at a certain point. But items control is the replacement, as I understand it, because it has everything items repeater did plus more, and it doesn't hose you. I ran into a problem with items. What was it? Items repeater with a stack panel as the items panel and a scroll viewer. I couldn't get it to wrap properly. Pain in the butt until I realized, oh, if I just use an items control, all of my problems go away because
Nice.
you have the panel right there. Oh,
yeah.
So okay, cool. So okay, so I'm with you there. Menu for kicks and giggles, got it.
Yeah.
And then grid with styles, and then tree view on the left. And then frame carving canvas. And so this is the magic that you built here.
Yes.
Okay.
Magic.
So individual data templates. And then so with what I am following here, these guys are the rectangles here. You've
Yep.
got some sort of pointer press for initiating the drag, I assume. Right?
Pointer press is for selection state. If you notice up above the content presenter selector, that is where I shoved all the
Content presenter selector. Where am I looking?
145.
45. Oh, I see.
Yes,
Got it.
because that's the thing that needs all the canvas properties on it.
Canvas draggable all the way through. Got it. Okay. Gonna wrap this around here real quick. Maybe our canvas draggable. Okay.
Yeah. One is a property that adds the behavior.
So this is your guy here. Snap to grid. Okay, so this behavior is effectively where you've implemented your drag drop, because there's your pressed, your moved, your released.
Yes.
Pressed, grab it is dragging. You rewrote your own drag drop stuff, which is cool. I think there's probably libraries out here that do this drag drop stuff, but there's something to be said about doing it yourself so that you understand the beauty of it. Points awarded for doing the pointer capture. Very nicely done. Pointer moved, and then this is just moving the canvas property to let it go around. Nice. This is well done.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah. And if there is no behavior, go ahead and... Cool. Okay. Clever putting this guy here. Public nested class, though.
It's not nested. My namespace. I got a new computer, and my settings are all not the same.
Got it. Got it. Cool. Okay. That all tracks here. So derive from there. That's the selector to be able to go through and do. This honestly isn't bad.
Oh,
this is.
I think what my issue was I just want to put the behavior on the item in the data template or selector for that rather than...
You're talking about up here?
Yeah, because then I got to do all these converters, and well, what if I add a new type to the data templates, and I want those to be, I want this to be potentially a reusable behavior and have it work on something in a data template, regardless if it's being wrapped in the contents presenter.
I'm surprised. So for people unfamiliar, styles in Avalonia are more akin to CSS styles and less akin to styles in WPF. The thing that is getting me is these things both are going to get applied to content presenters inside of here. Does animation frame view model implement that interface?
Yes.
Got it. Okay, so right, so this just as easily could be moved down, but you want this thing here.
It was in the case that there was another
one that you do or something.
Yeah.
Well, I think you'll get bit the moment you have a second one, though, because this selector isn't going to disambiguate between the types, right?
That's my problem.
Is something else.
I'm fine with X and Y being bound to left and top for all of the canvas items. That just makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
It's the dragging behavior.
Yeah, getting this thing, because effectively in an ideal situation, what you want is this guy up here, right? Like something more akin to this,
Kind
where
of, but not all of the items in there should be draggable
mhm.
based
What
on their type, their data context.
got it. I guess then rather than trying to fight this here, is there a reason? I guess so. The key thing here is you've got 3 properties of yeah. So is draggable, is enabled, and snap to grid. And so based upon the type, you want to be able to propagate these things up.
Yeah, I honestly in that behavior, I want to work with the control that the content presenter is presenting.
Yeah. I mean, so my first default setting, right, is something along is more akin to this, right? Of let's see here. Something of setter property behaviors canvas draggable. Right? If you do something of this nature, and then we could reach down. I guess the question is, how low do you want to go? Because this is a content presenter. You could, well, ignore the is attached property. The value here could end up being something more akin to binding content data context, right?
Oh,
Because a content presenter is going to have a content property, which is going to be, in this case, the rectangle, right? Because of how this get, well, I guess it's either going to be the rectangle or it's going to be the image. And we can then make the assumption that the content, and we may have to typecast it, we could then grab the data context off of it. And so that gives us the view model that is behind the item inside of the content presenter. Right? And so I think in your canvas draggable behavior, yeah, you had this target property.
that was a different implementation that I dropped.
Yeah, but what I'm almost proposing, because you said you ideally in here you want to work with the view model, right?
Well, that's where I didn't know. As far as MVVM goes, do I?
Well, behaviors become a weird middle ground, right? Like, so down here, I guess, what is it that you're actually after? So you go hunting for your parent canvas, which this works fine. We could actually get fancier, but that's not necessary, I don't think. Because we could pass the canvas in, we could bind the canvas into here, because it's very easy inside the behavior. Because Avalonia's binding engine is slightly richer. Binding. Where's? No. There is a bind to a. Is the bind to a control? I'm looking for the, yeah, this guy here. So you can, the what we would normally use in WPF for like a relative source binding
Huh?
to say, hey, walk up the tree and go and find me my top level canvas. You can actually do binding $parent square brace canvas
That's
to do
cool.
the same thing, right? So you can then, so there's this, like, could we do this in WPF? Yes. But is this nice syntactic sugar?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Very
To not
cool.
have to jump through some hoops for some fairly common types, right? And you can do, they've got indexer syntax, or you can do custom stuff and whatnot. So these guys here, for anybody who wants to play along at home, right, like this is the, there's some extra nice syntax around here, and the $parent is one of the nicer ones. Be able to reach up and grab them. This is the other one. When I was commenting, we might need to typecast it. Because I think content presenter.content is just of type object, so we might have to cast this to control or something to be able to grab the data context property off of it. But we can see. So my thought here is, if all you're looking to grab in here, because this guy has is enabled, snap to grid, and then is draggable. Why is his draggable in a different class? Is there a reason it's not on the other one?
There's no reason I did any of this. It was make it work mode.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Because all of these things here seem to be going after the UI control itself, right? And control is what you targeted, so maybe we cast it down here. So what if we do something like target control, right? And do this, right? Register attached. I don't know if you actually need to do attached here, do you? I think you can just do a styled property. Because unlike WPF, these things are bindable, which makes it muchas better. Muchas better. Because we don't want that. We just want styled property, and then this just becomes register. Izzy, have a good one. Let's see here. And then, let's see, register styled. What are you squawking about? Oh, because I made one a control and one an object. So no happy. And then we just do something like this instead, because I kind of like this. And then we make this a control, and we name this target control, and we go, I get my extensions reinstalled on this machine. New name of. All right, so I think we do this, right? This gets us our target control, and then back over here, what we do is we do target control, right? And we bind it to content. You just see how well this, see if it's going to squawk.
Okay, here's the problem though. Target control, setting the canvas left. The target control basically has to be the content presenter.
Target control has to be the content presenter.
Well, at least for setting those properties and like binding to the left and top.
Well, so
maybe I'll
so,
just let you go on. Maybe I'm misunderstanding.
No, so you're like, it's very possible I'm not understanding. So this here is this style is going to be selecting out the content presenter. So that's the target for these setters, right? And so these setters still continue to work. This guy here, oh, this guy has to be an attached. Got it. This guy here has to be, and I'm real, the subtle difference is biting me here, right?
Sorry.
But this guy here, we want to be able to pass the behavior into. But I get it maybe maybe we just do this. Because this will be the content presenter and we can pull everything off of it. Right?
Okay.
Because then in here, right, we could make this a content presenter even if we'll leave it as control for a second. But we could make this our content presenter. We know when he changes, right? So let's see, default value.
No, in Avalonia, you have to do like a
You're
add
right.
handler or something.
Yeah, yep. It's the same thing that you did. This.
Oh yeah.
This.
And that's so somebody from the outside can do it also.
Yeah, like it kind of like I get it. There's let's see, and target control changed. Gen me a method. There we go. All right, bippity boo, yeah, bippity day. Okay, so from here we grab the guy, and I think then we can do everything we need outside of it, right? So what I would propose then, so is enabled, I think stays as an attached property because I think is enabled is actually something, if you want to control by type, what you do is you control it down here, right? So rather than doing this kind of stuff, I propose we do, where's is enabled? This guy. I propose this goes on your root level element.
Yes,
right?
That's what I want.
And you do true, right? Because I assume it defaults to false.
Okay, but then doesn't that property live on two different controls now?
Yes. But the thing is if you've got your content presenter here, right? So private void foo, right? So inside of here, if I have target control, is content presenter, EP, right? Oh, shut up. There. You just do CP content, right? And then pull the item back off, right? So because it's an attached property, right? When you do get is enabled, and actually I guess we can get fancier, is content presenter content control child, right? And then this just becomes child.
Oh.
And then you can reach in and grab it.
Okay.
Now the thing that might get a little weird, we might need to check this, is it might not content might be the view model. It might require reaching into the visual tree of it, but same concept, right? If you've got the parent, we just reach into the parent to grab its child out, like CP, right? Right. It might be that we might need to grab, rather than content, it might need to be child here. Right, that might be the right one. I can't remember which it is.
Okay.
But we let's, you know what? Let's test this, right? Proof is in the pudding. Args.new value What are you squawking about? Control is not content presenter. An expression of type binding value. Oh. Let's see. Has value. True. Value. Because if I'm gonna go this pattern matching garbage, darn it, I might as well make it complicated. That's readable, right?
Oh yeah.
There's no confusion here. It just works. Oh. Let's see. Is enabled. Let's see. Unable to find suitable setter or adder for property for property is enabled.
Eh.
Let's see here. Registered attached. Is you are on type rectangle? I'm just wondering if rectangle doesn't derive from control on its hierarchy.
Oh.
Which is a possibility. We can just change it from... No?
Oh, it does.
It does. Shape derives from control. So... Okay, so... First theory wrong. Let's see. Available setter parameter lists are unset value binding. Let's see here. Oh. This is...
Why was that not a problem before?
That's a good question. Why? I assume you were seeing this before. Can I do something crazy? And just make it ugly for a second?
Yeah, whatever.
All right, and I'm just gonna do that for a brief moment. And then I'm gonna come over here. Do that. I assume that was part of the issue, and then I'm going to comment. Actually, you know what? We'll fix this one step at a time. Kill that. Compile. Nope. Get is enabled. 2. Getting closer, getting closer, getting closer. Okay, arg's new value is content presenter. So let's see, we should just step inside. Nope. So now I gotta look at, now I actually have to look at this thing. Let's see, so value, content presenter, child is not set yet. Oh. Okay. I suspect we're not going to come back in here. Oh, maybe we will. Oh, it's probably going to hit on all of these.
Yeah, there's like 6 of them.
Here. Yeah, so theory is timing. Right, so I think the issue is going to be if CP dot.
Okay, what about for an items control? Can you implement your own content presenter? Is there some sort of factory? And then I could just put this behavior on that. Like I could just hard code it into that control.
Yeah, so the magical thing, if we go to GitHub Avalonia. This is actually not too unlike what I did with that tree view, that custom tree view control that's inside material design in XAML.
Mhm.
I believe on Avalonia it follows a very similar structure. Let's see here. I think if we go controls, I've spent way too much time looking at this repository. What I'm looking for is list box. Yeah, so we may need to go look at selected items control. Items panel. There is this. This is the magical incantation that you're looking for, right? So in the, and I forget which of these bases, it may be items control that has it on there, that if you're already overriding it, you get to create the item for override. So this is so when you are specifying things like data templates, the
Mhm.
base class, when it has an item source and it gets bound to a list of items, it has to know how to wrap up each of those items into a container, right? And the data template may get applied to the content of that container, but for each item in the item source, it has to know how to box these things up, because like list box, it expects everything to be a list box item, right? And so this create container for item, I think the WPF one is very similar in signature, just drop the word override if I remember properly. But it's what gives you the ability uh, to go through and provide that container. The other thing, and this one probably won't bite you, but this needs container override. This is how UI virtualization works, right? Because your item source is a
Okay.
list of objects, and so it may not need containers for all of them. So it may come back through here to say, hey, do you need a new one? Can we recycle an old one?
Right.
Right?
Okay.
Which is how you get UI level virtualization. In the case of like a canvas thing, like you may not need to do this and just say, you know what, screw it. Always needs container. True, right? Like just gen a new one all the time. Like screw virtualization. Give me a new one every time. Don't think about reuse, because reuse and virtualization can become pain in the neck to implement. So like V1, make it work without the thing, because that will let you control the item. It doesn't need to then be a content presenter. It could be insert class here that derives from content presenter, and you can slap everything on there that you want.
That's what I want. Okay, so I tried going down that path. You look in the frame carving canvas,
Yep.
and I was overriding the wrong method. I didn't even see create. I saw what is it? Prepare container for item override.
Yeah,
So
and
it's
those, yeah, those, if you search container on the overrides, I think they show up,
yeah.
right? I think that's the, oh, this is a behavior, right? So if I go look class foo items control, right? And then I go override container, right?
Mhm.
These are the things to be paying attention to, right? Of where, and they're basically just hooks into that generalized process of item from item source. I need to get a container, so I need to check if I've got an existing one that I can use. If not, do I create a new one, right? I then prep the container because I might need to set some state on it that's different. Like for example, you're setting canvas top, canvas left, right? That's the type of thing that might go into your prepare container from item override to say, hey, I know the last one had a top of this or a left of this, but you know, we're throwing those away and resetting those, right? And then you're off to
Right.
the races. And I
Right.
think clear might be I might have to double check the exact timing of each of these. The
I
nice
think
part
clear
though,
is for recycling probably.
yeah, and I think if you look at items control, it's like this is the other nice part about Avalonia, is it's all just one. You'll note I'm decompiled, but I've got all of the nice symbols and everything. It's like, thank you, that's what I wanted.
Nice.
Right? Container from index. Presenter, item from container, get realized containers, blah, blah, blah. From item container instead. Yeah, and see, the code is not complicated at all. Yeah, and this is why you're getting content presenter. Like this is literally it.
That's literally it. Okay.
This is the reason why your items containers are content presenters, because the default is content presenter. If you want something different like list box item, you got to override it and put in your own.
Go to frame carving canvas there on the under views.
Frame carving canvas.
And so I had like
look at that! You were so close.
And I don't even need to derive from content presenter, do I?
What you need is Copilot.
Oh, I was right there.
I mean, Copilot's on point. It's wrong, but it's close enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you go down that route, then you can, because I assume this is where you were going down the route of, oh, I want this as my item, right? So you end up doing override, create container for item override, right? And then, that one? Yeah. Create container for item override. Good. And then this becomes return new draggable canvas item. And I've now just broken your selectors.
Yes, but okay.
But I've broken them in the best way possible.
Yes, you have. Thank you, Kevin. This is exactly why I came to you. Yes.
Yeah. So if you now, I will say for most people, this is probably not the path you go down. But Victor's not most people. He likes pain and punishment.
I do.
For anyone who's confused about why I say that, if you check out my YouTube videos on the, what is it? Virtualized tree view? What did I call that? There's like a set of 5 streams that I did. And there's probably another 20 or 30 hours outside of those streams where I was working on it as well. So generally building these custom controls is not, it's complicated. It's hard. It sucks. And there's a lot of little edge cases.
So are you going to bring that over to Avalonia?
I don't know. That's a good question. So the whole point of doing it was because we needed a reasonable drag drop tree view that wasn't like Telerik. Because Telerik's was kind of garbagey. But yeah, I honestly, I think that kind of depends on what Avalonia has. Teams, get out of the way. Yeah, I think I haven't actually, so I haven't needed one yet, but built-in controls. Let's look at, because they have a tree view, right? So I haven't explored it extensively yet. Where's the tree view?
I implemented like a tiny little drag and drop. So the tree view on the left there, you can reorder the thing that holds the nodes, the parent container and the tree list, but it was very simple.
Yeah, and I've kind of noticed that I need to check the API on some of these things. View source code, API documentation here. I don't want source code. API docs. Because I've found that a lot of times when there's something I want to do, Avalonia's already got properties built in for it. It's like, dang nabbit. Like we spent a bunch of time implementing like a scroll to element thing in Maui, all to find that if it was Avalonia, it was literally a Boolean property. It's like, dang, freaking show offs. Like, thank you. That's exactly what I needed. Let's see, border. Yeah, auto scroll to selected item. Literally nice. A Boolean. Or you re-implement it yourself.
Right.
Like, can you implement it? Of course. Is it easier if it's a Boolean? Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. 100%. Oh, this is another nice thing. I don't know if you've noticed. There's a clock property for the animations. So hypothetically, if you want to do something like, say, slow down your animation so you can check to make sure it's animating properly, you can set in a clock that then runs at like quarter speed, half speed. So you
Oh,
can
that's cool.
yeah. So you can control your timing really easily, which is like normally in WPF, I go through and I just crank my durations up so that I can see it. But then you have to make sure that you go in even increments so you get the tweening done properly, blah, blah, blah. What I was looking for is, yeah, I don't see anything about reordering. And honestly, it could be brought like there's enough about the basic structure that I suspect is similar between Avalonia and WPF that a lot of it would come over. I'm trying to remember. There's a couple key WPF things that my tree view relies on, and I'm trying to remember exactly what they are because they're around the container generation and being able to do the bindings properly in the sorting. So,
Oh, okay.
but it's honestly not a bad thing. And the Material Avalonia project, the maintainer seems cool with taking my PR, so I keep sending them because I got my
Nice.
theming stuff in. But yeah, cool.
Cool.
Was there
Well,
anything else, Victor, or is that
no,
line up with
I
what you're
think
going
that's
for?
that's a much better direction than I think I was hacking together there. So thank you.
Might find that. Oh, hang on. Oh, Andrew, I think I saw something similar to this. There was a third party that implemented something similar. Yeah, this is slick. I don't know if you see the link, Victor.
Uh,
Dependency property generator. Do they have samples showing use? Come on. GitHub was having issues earlier today. Try to add. Yeah. Imagine
nice.
writing your dependency property like that.
So much better.
Yeah. Yeah. As Andrew says, whenever you see Sergio building something, Sergio is a wizard. Like the man is a wizard. All of the community toolkit performance stuff that makes it scream and go fast, and a lot of the cool source generator stuff, that's the guy behind it. There was actually a recent, was it .NET Conf? I think it was .NET Conf. Sergio and Zamalama, Michael Hawker, did a, I think it was .NET Conf. See if I can find it here real quick. Da-da-da. There was one. The problem is I know it's not this one. I think it was the most recent .NET Conf had one, and these all have the wrong year in it. Where they were giving an introduction of the MVVM toolkit and some of the source generators, partial observable properties. Yeah, that was one of the things that he showed off that was really cool to me. And I can't remember whether it's coming or already released, but rather than doing observable property attribute on top of a field, you can do public partial property, decorate it with the observable attribute, and it'll gen out everything you need as well. So rather than having a field and generate a property from that, you have something that looks like a property, and it gens the full property from that.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, because partial properties are they're like, I don't know that I would ever use them outside of a source generator solution. Because it's like, why wouldn't I just do the property? Like, But that's part of why they expanded partial to properties, was because source generators, specifically in MVVM solutions, really wanted them. They're like, it'd be really cool if, because we're doing this weird stuff with fields and that kind of thing, it's like it'd be better if we could just decorate right on top of it. So, but yeah,
So if you did that, would you still see the field?
You
this
don't
dot.
see
Would
the
you still
field.
see the
So
you wouldn't see the backing field, that they wouldn't generate one to use?
So C#.
Oh, file. Would they use the?
No, so it's
How do they hide it?
So the syntax looks like this, right? I don't know why they have this here. I don't think this is not implemented here, implementing declaration, but yeah. Anyway, so you can define a partial property, but when you define a partial property like this, it's not a real auto property. Oh, it uses the field keyword. Okay, because the field keyword was something that was talked about for this last release, but got yanked. But it's still something that's being discussed by the language team. So I think there's a strong probability we see it landing in next version, because like .NET has very strict preview times. But the idea is, rather than decorating that, you set up a partial property like this, but because partial properties look like auto properties, the implementing half of the partial has to actually provide members. They couldn't just do get semicolon, set semicolon, otherwise it would look identical to this. And so if you do a partial property that looks like an auto property, the implementing side of the partial has to actually do something that references a lambda, or you actually do the block body for the get and set. And so that's what the MVVM toolkit source generator was abusing. You write this, put the observable property attribute on top of it, and then they generate out all of this. So you never see the field. From your code's perspective, it's an auto property. It looks like an auto property. It acts like an auto property. You never see the field, because practically speaking, there is no field. Like, there technically is a field behind it because the compiler has to generate one, but there's not a named member that you can access.
And they don't need that in the generated code. They don't need access to the field.
They can get it with the new magical field keyword.
Oh.
So this is a new magical what is it? A context, is it context sensitive, context aware keyword, contextual keyword. And so this keyword is only valid inside the get and set blocks of a property. Oh, and Andrew's on point with the link. Is this it? Oh no, this is Andrew's WinUI partial. Oh. So for people who have shameless as Kevin. No, do it, Andrew. I appreciate it. For people who haven't subscribed to Andrew's YouTube, go do it. See, I'm subscribed. Because there's cool stuff like this. So there's your old one, right? Right? Private field with observable property attribute. And I assume if I jump forward, what I'm going to see, right? So there's the generated stuff. I think we're going to jump forward to the newer ones. I think I saw this one come through. Yeah. So rather than writing the field like what we had here, right? We get into this sort of situation where it's a partial property and it looks auto property-esque, right? Which is perfect. All right, and so you gotta rev up. So syntax has to be newer, C#, blah blah blah. And then I'm gonna. Oh, I just realized I'm playing audio on this. I'm gonna mute the audio. Playback speed. Speed it up just a hair so we can get forward. So now it builds and compiles, and I assume this guy here is going to go through. Show the generated stuff behind this one. Yeah, so the binding works properly. Just scanning ahead to see. Oh yes. Oh good.
Nice. Nice.
So here's what gets generated on the back end, right? So they still generate out something that looks very similar. The key difference, right, is that line right there, right? So your question about, well, don't they need the backing field to be able to set it?
Yes, they do need the backing field. But even without the field keyword, right, they could technically generate out a field, right? Because this is just source generated, right? They could generate a field here. The problem is if they generate a field,
We
they
see
could
it.
always cause a naming collision. There's
Oh,
there's no good way to guarantee that you never cause a naming collision, right? People will do funky things with double underscores and name it really long. It's like nobody will ever name this, but it's never impossible, right? With this,
right.
it's impossible to have a naming collision because the compiler generates it. The compiler knows all and it can set it, right?
That's cool.
So that's the that's the cheap secret hiding behind the thing. Hey, engineering love. I like parts of Microsoft. Does that count? I like Microsoft tech. There are certain things about Microsoft that annoy the living daylights out of me. Today's annoyance was the tooling around Visual Studio's connection to a remote Mac for doing iOS development. And it annoyed me a great deal. So, do I like Microsoft? I don't know if I could say a sweeping statement as a whole. I like Microsoft tech, and I like a lot of what they are doing. I'll put it that way. But yeah, so people check out Andrew's video and subscribe to him if you haven't already, because this this is the stuff that is coming in the new stuff. Now, I will point out Andrew does do a lot of stuff with like WinUI, which is a very it's useful knowledge if you end up finding yourself in even outside of WinUI, if you're in like Maui land or Uno land, where they end up using the native controls, and sometimes a knowledge of those native controls and how to do things platform specific is helpful. I don't know that I've run into a situation where I need it for Avalonia though, because they're so low level, they just pop a window and say, "Give me a Skia surface and get out of my way." Like that's where they abandon the platform and say, as soon as I can get a Skia surface to paint all my controls on, like I'm going. And that's how they get all of their fancy stuff. So yeah, so that's the cool new bits that are coming. So I am realizing that I need to be subscribed to this, because this feels like something that I would like to see happen, and this will be really cool. So yeah. But yeah, and I think I saw Sergio show it off at .NET Conf. I think. So I believe there's probably a YouTube video or a .NET Conf link somewhere around there. So cool. Well, Victor, thank you for coming on. That was
Yeah,
good.
thank you.
I've
Yeah.
been threatening people with more Avalonia content, so it's nice to be able to show it off. Did you spin this project from my template, or did you just, is this the
Of
Avalonia
course I
control?
did.
Oh, good. Be aware, I don't know if you saw, there is a branch I have. And it's not merged, which is why it's a branch and not in there yet. With work on Avalonia updates. So I've got a bunch of stuff coming for this template that I want to go through and fix and clean up. A lot of it's coming from learnings that I'm getting on my day project. So
Okay.
I'm slowly bundling it in. The other thing that I found this week that I just have to show off, I I I thought this was the coolest thing ever. Avalonia Maui hybrid. And you'll note it's bi-directional. You can slap Avalonia controls inside of Maui pages, and you can slap Maui controls inside of Avalonia views. Yeah, it's that.
Weird.
And the only reason I came across this is I was looking for a camera surface, and I wasn't finding good Avalonia options, because it's like that's not really like in their bag. Like they're not trying to be this end all. We've got these cross-platform APIs for all the things. They try to let you leverage other people's. That way they don't have to be opinionated and take those dependencies that they don't want to have. Right? Like Maui got hosed when Google changed the camera API, and they had to kind of scramble and deal with it. But Avalonia just says, not our problem. That, like, what does that have to do with painting UI controls? You want to go grab a thing? Go grab one. Pick your favorite. Have fun. But this then opens up, if you want to grab like the Maui community toolkit for the camera view, you could in theory embed it straight in. But that's one of the things that my template is going to look at solving. The Maui NuGet packages are a pain in the neck to bring in. I don't know if you've gotten bit by this. Let me show this. So people should probably see this. Maui has a community toolkit, and this annoys me to no end. Right? So we can pop this sucker open. I believe this is an Uno app. I think is what it is. Yeah. So here's the problem. When you run an Avalonia app in desktop mode, right? If we look at your target platform here, I'm guessing you haven't changed it. Yep. Your target framework is Net 8, which is great because this desktop app runs on Windows and Mac, right? Huzzah! It even runs on Linux, which is cool. You can target all the desktops. Yeah. So, but the problem is the moment you pull in Maui's community toolkit has separate implementations for, say, Mac and Windows. So, the problem is the Net 8 assembly, most of the implementations throw not implemented exception because this is a reference assembly. The problem, because it assumes that this package is going to be referenced by a Maui project where it's got specific heads for each of these. But on Avalonia, the head project, the one that's generating your main, is targeting Net 8. So it doesn't know which one of these to pull in because you've got a cross-platform desktop app, and it's like, no, we've got separate heads for Windows and Mac, which is the reason why you have, like, to Avalonia's credit, like, they intentionally put in a comment that hints at what you need to do. You need to make separate Windows, Mac, and Linux projects and set their TFMs to Net 8 Windows, Net 8 Mac, or Net 8 Mac Catalyst, right? And then leave the Net 8 one for Linux. And then you can bring in the Maui packages. Problem, Maui packages don't have a target for Linux then. So if you want to target Linux too, you still have a problem with using them. So it's this frustrating thing that drives me up a wall. And I'm like, it's so close to being awesome. It's so close. And it's right there. And it's just slightly out of reach. In my case, I said, I don't care about Mac OS or Linux. Problem solved. That was the easy solution. You just abandon the platforms and then you're off to the races. But yeah. Yeah, engineering love. I do a lot of C#.NET stuff. So if it's interesting to you, I am aware, like down in the Bay Area, because I assume that's like San Francisco area. It is very heavily influenced by Silicon Valley, and I believe other languages are much more popular. But I'm in Washington State, and so having Microsoft within a few hours away, there is a strong .NET influence the closer you get to Microsoft headquarters. It's like there's a strong influence from Silicon Valley as the closer you get to it. Yeah, the same applies up here. So, yeah, it's always interesting when I see people reference like the popularity of different languages, because sometimes they're like, oh, this language is the most popular in the US. It's like, that feels too broad to me. I think we need to narrow it down a little bit and say, where in the US, because where you are in the US, I think, starts to make a bigger difference, because a lot of it's driven by which big companies are near you and that kind of thing. So cool. Well, Victor, thank you again. I may go and crash. I was up early again, and I've got probably another early morning tomorrow. Am I going to see you tomorrow evening? The work thing?
Yes, you will.
Sweet. I don't know
Yeah.
if Robert's still around, but we'll see him too. Our lovely remote one.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna head out too. Thank you,
Cool.
Kevin, so much for helping me.
Oh, always. Yeah, engineering love. Yeah, I see people make that all the time. And Andrew, thank you for coming and hanging out. As always, everyone, it's been great. We will probably go through and do this again. I am aware that my YouTube recordings, there's a couple of them that got cut off early that didn't get the full recording. I've downloaded them from Twitch, and I think I fixed my automation and need a retrigger reprocessing and all of that garbage. So I've got updates, so I apologize. I may end up having to delete the current postings and re-upload the videos. So this is the issue when you have automation doing all of your YouTube posting for you. Sometimes automation messes up, and it's not always obvious for me when it happens. So hey JC, hello and goodbye. But yes, as always, happy coding. See everyone next time.